Hi, my name's Dave Fitzpatrick. I'm an educational consultant for RM Education. I'm a Google certified trainer, and in a past life I was a teacher of maths and science. This short video is going to look at some of the key accessibility features built into G Suite. I thought a great place to start would be just looking at Google's mission statement around accessibility, which I've included for you here. If you want to get the full range of Google's accessibility tools, can I suggest you simply Google G Suite for Education Accessibility, or you can simply type in the URL I've included for you on this page. So if I click on that link now, as I said, this takes you to the primary accessibility page. Now in this video, I'm just going to show you a few things that in my experience schools find most useful in terms of accessibility. Let's start off with a few really simple ones. So what I'm going to do first is open a Google document. For those who didn't know, you can simply type docs.new into the browser, or sheets.new or slides.new, and it will open up a new Google document. And I'm going to call this document accessibility. Let's imagine a student that is unable to type into their computer. If you're using the Chrome browser or a Chromebook, you have the ability for voice typing, where you can simply talk into your computer and it will type for you. So let's have a look at this now. I'm going to go to Tools, Voice Typing. And you can see here it's defaulted to English, but I could change to any number of different languages from around the globe. And that might be really useful, because if I wasn't a native English speaker, I could choose the language that I speak, talk into my computer, and then use the built-in translate feature within Google Docs to translate this back to English and vice versa. So let's click on the microphone and see what happens. Students in the same classroom learn in different ways, full stop. To support all students, comma, we design technology to help educators meet the needs of every student, comma, including those with impaired vision / hearing or physical disabilities, comma, and diverse approaches to processing new information, full stop, new line. Google believes accessible design is just good design, full stop. We create Google for Education products with accessibility in mind, comma, to help every student learn, comma, be inspired and achieve their full potential, full stop. And obviously I click on the microphone to stop it typing. If I look at the text, I can see it's made one small mistake, that it's changed learn in to learning. So I'm just going to correct that manually here. And hopefully you noticed as I was talking, I was adding my punctuation, which was included into the text. As I alluded to before, it's worth noting here that I could go to Tools, Translate Document, choose a language, and let's imagine I needed this translated for a Polish child in my class. Click onto Translate, and you can see now in real time that text has been translated into Polish. It's worth noting here that when you translate a document, that document lives by default in your root directory of Drive, but you could of course go to File, Move, and move it into the most appropriate folder. Going back to my original document, something else that you might not be aware of is that Google have a font specifically designed to improve readability. And that font is called Lexend, and let me show you how you access that. We simply go to Font, go to More Fonts, and search for Lexend. And there we can see the various Lexend fonts that are available. To press OK. And now if I highlight my text and change that to this readability font, hopefully you can see there that the font is much more readable than the default fonts we often use. The next thing I want to show you is the ability for Google to translate what you're saying in real time. For example, if you're teaching with a slideshow, or actually if you're using Google Meet. So let's start with a slideshow. So here I am back at my slideshow, and I'm going to go to Present. And if you look now on the bottom, you can see this option for CC captions. If I click on the down arrow, I can choose the text position and the text size. And now when I click onto CC for closed captions, you will notice that as I talk in real time, my speech is being translated into text. So anybody that is viewing this slideshow with me at the moment, or perhaps if I am sharing my screen in a Google Meet, would see in real time a translation of my speech into text. Another option is to look how we can do exactly the same thing in Google Meet. So I'm going to click onto my plus. I'm going to go to meet.new. Now, obviously, that's one way of starting a meeting. You could do it via calendar. We would always recommend that you use meetings directly from Google Classroom because all the Meet security is in place. And I've created previous videos on this if you're interested. If I click onto Join Now, and now if I'm in my Meet and I click onto the three squares at the bottom and I go to Captions and choose my language and click onto Apply, and you can see now that as I talk, everything I'm saying again is being translated into text in real time. What's important to understand when you're using a Google Meet is that each individual needs to switch on the closed caption to see this text. Whereas if I'm doing this within a Google slideshow, anybody that's looking at my slideshow while I'm presenting would be able to see the text displayed. And if I decided to record this Google Meet, it would also record the closed captions that are appearing now as I speak. Before we finish today, I just wanted to remind you of a few other features that are easily available via Google and some tips and tricks to maximize accessibility. The first of these is to remind you that if you're visually impaired and you're using the Chrome browser, you can always do Control plus or minus or Command plus and minus on a Mac to zoom in and out. So if you're visually impaired, that could be really useful. Many students with visual impairment would also be using screen readers. So Google recommend that on a Mac you use VoiceOver, on a Windows device you use a product called JAWS, and Chromebooks have a built-in screen reader called Chrome Vox, and they're the recommended screen readers you could use. But it's worth noting, if students are using a screen reader, then the way you format your document can make things more difficult for them. For example, if you highlighted some text and switched on full justification, which obviously adds loads of additional spaces, that will make many screen readers struggle to read the text correctly. So avoid doing that. You could obviously increase your font size. Another thing to avoid is if you're adding a website to your page, don't simply paste the URL because a screen reader would find that very difficult to read and it would make little sense. And also avoid, for example, writing click here, highlighting that and going to the link and pasting in that link. Because again, a screen reader will just read click here. What would be much better is to use text that relates to the website. So for example, you would type and then highlight that text, click onto the link button and paste in the link of the web page. So that way, when the student uses a screen reader, it will read to them Google Accessibility website. Using images is also difficult for students that are visually impaired because they can't see the pictures. So if I add an image to my page now by going to Insert, Image from the web, just a reminder that if you add images like this, they're always safe searched and they're always copyright free, which is really handy to know. And let's choose this picture here and insert it. What you should do now is add an alternative text into that picture, so when a student clicks on it, it will tell them what the picture is. So once you've added your image, you simply highlight it, right click, you go to Alt Text, which stands for Alternative Text, and add your title and description and press OK. So that means that a screen reader would now read out both the title and the description of that image. And finally, to make it easier for visually impaired students or students perhaps with mobility problems to navigate your document, is to use headers throughout your document to allow your students to easily skip to the correct section of the document. Let me show you how that works. Okay, so let's imagine here we have our document. You can see here that page 1 starts with the word students, and page 2 with Google, and page 3 with tools. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the word students. I'm going to go up to here where it says normal text and let me choose heading 2. If I scroll down and highlight the word Google and also make that heading 2, and if I scroll down again to the word tools and again make that heading 2. How does this help me? Well, it means now that if I click onto this icon here on the top left, it now breaks the document down by those different headings. And if I click onto one of those headings, it will take me straight to that section of the document. So again, with accessibility tools and with screen reading, that may make it much easier for your students to navigate your document. And the last thing I want to talk about is an add-on called Grackle. I'm going to install that for you now. So I'm going to go to Add-ons, get Add-ons, type in Grackle, and install that add-on. Now, in your schools, you will probably have to ask your Google Super Administrator to either allow this add-on for all users or to whitelist it to allow you to add it individually. And what I can do now is I can go to Add-ons, Grackle Docs, Launch. And the add-on now will look through my document, find anything in the document that is not accessible friendly, and therefore I can remedy that before I release the document to my students. So if we look now on the right hand side, one of the things that's been highlighted is there's no title, so let's add one. And I'm going to highlight Google Accessibility, go to heading, change it to a title. And now if I recheck, you can see that's now ticked. I hope you found this video helpful. Don't forget you can always go to rm.com to get more help with Google, and thanks for listening.